The Tesseract and the Infinity Stones, and then we have the Tesseract. For those who don't remember, we see this this shiny box, right away in Captain America, the first Avenger. Back then we just thought it was a MacGuffin, one of those boring plot devices. It was just a little blue cube that Red Skull was obsessed with, and to be honest, we didn't give a damn. But then, a few years later, that one-eyed guy, Nick Fury. He shows up in the post-credit scene of Thor. It's a quick scene, maybe 10 seconds, but it's where the puzzle begins. They were assembling the biggest cinematic saga in history, scoffs. And then the Avengers comes out. That's when they finally tell us the Tesseract is the Space Stone. We start to see a pattern. They were giving us clues, little nods in plain sight. They were pieces of a puzzle we were all a part of. Stan Lee's cameos are the master, the man, the myth, the legend, S.H.I.E.L.D, the hunt for Stan Lee. At first it was subtle, almost a test to see if you were a true fan. He was a mailman, a librarian, small but important, reminders that the soul of Marvel was still alive in the movies. But then things changed. Marvel became a monster, and Stan, he became our lighthouse. We didn't just look for him, we waited for him. It became a tradition. The movie wasn't complete without his appearance. And in the end, in Captain Marvel, he shows up reading the script for Mallrats. It was a low blow, man. And as much as we hate to admit it, it was a goodbye. And that, my friend, is something I won't get over anytime soon. Minor character references. Aye, the references. You think they only grab the big, obvious ones, but nah, Marvel has this bizarre talent for taking a name nobody remembers and turning it into a central piece. They introduced Miles Morales real early. It was a 3-second line that made the entire internet explode. A seed, a prophecy. And it wasn't just him. Remember the guy Vulture smashes with the van in Homecoming? That was Mac Gargan, the future Scorpion. And it doesn't stop there. In Thor, The Dark World, we get a reference to Captain America, and in The Incredible Hulk, we see the leader. He only shows up for a second, but it was a setup for something that never came. Scoffs. It's the kind of thing Marvel does. They promise you something and then they leave you waiting for a decade. S.H.I.E.L.D and Phase 1, S.H.I.E.L.D, where everything really started to connect. For those who don't know, the agency appeared in the post-credit scene of Iron Man. It was just another surprise. But what we didn't know is that they were quietly there, in the background, building the foundation for the entire universe. Sigh. They were everywhere, man. You blinked, and they were there. In The Incredible Hulk, we didn't realize it was S.H.I.E.L.D investigating the Hulk, not the government. And in Iron Man 2, they're there, recruiting Tony Stark and monitoring Whiplash. And the big moment? In Captain America, the first Avenger, we see Howard Stark working with the Tesseract, and in the background, nobody noticed at the time. But now we know they were planting the seeds for the Avengers the whole time. Phase 1 wasn't a collection of films, it was a giant puzzle. The magical world of Doctor Strange, the arrogant guy we learned to love. His movie is an Easter egg festival, a treasure hunt for the eyes. We can't forget that moment when Doctor Strange enters the Sanctum Sanctorum. They're not there just to fill the scenery, my friend. Right away we see what looks like a portal to the dark dimension. And the coolest part of all? They show the cloak of levitation. They zoom in on the details. It's like they're telling us this cloak has a story and a life of its own, but the best part, the best of all, is the library scene. We see the Eye of Agamotto and what looks like the Scarlet Witch's staff. It was a clue for those who paid attention. We knew things were going to get crazy, but we didn't know how crazy. They give you a little piece of the future just to make you drool. Back to Earth, the references in Spider-Man and Black Panther. After flying through space and playing with magic, we had to come back to Earth, right? And Marvel, being sneaky, did it with Spider-Man, Homecoming, the movie that gave us the Uncle Ben scene that never happened. Oh yeah, they just avoid it. But the movie's full of Easter eggs for us. In Peter Parker's classroom, we see references to Bruce Banner, Tony Stark, and even Dr. Hank Pym, the Vulture, Adrian Toomes. He uses technology we've already seen. He steals technology from the Chitauri and even from Ultron, which is Kinda smart, I'll admit. And then Black Panther, what a movie. They don't just introduce Wakanda, they give us a dive into its entire history, and we see T'Challa talking about Vibranium, that metal we saw in Captain America's S.H.I.E.L.D. It's not just a material, it's the foundation of everything in Wakanda. And we see M'Baku and the Jabari tribe, a detail only the oldest nerds caught. The name Man-Ape. They got rid of a ridiculous name to make the thing work. At least in that, they were clever. Cosmic Marvel. All right, take a deep breath, because now we're going to space. Guardians of the Galaxy changed the game. Until then, everything was on Earth, or close to it. Suddenly we have a team of weirdos, a talking raccoon, and a tree, and we care about them. And the movie is full of cosmic references. Right away we see the Collector and his museum. Every artifact there is an Easter egg. There's a thing that looks like Howard the Duck. And most importantly, the power orb. They tell us it's an infinity stone. They don't even try to hide it. But the best reference, the most subtle, is seeing Ego, the living planet. Even before we knew he was Star-Lord's father. We don't even realize it, but he's there. Marvel doesn't just connect the universe. It gives us clues about a future we didn't even know we wanted. The multiverse and the future, the explosion of references in Phase 4 and 5. You thought we'd seen it all. Wait until Phase 4. The multiverse, man. They threw the door in our face and said, now everything is canon. We're not talking about subtle Easter eggs anymore. We're talking about an Easter egg that is the entire movie. Loki. We don't just learn about the timelines. We meet the guy who causes the chaos, he who remains. They killed the villain on the first meeting. Oh, what can I say? And then Spider-Man, No Way Home. They brought Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield back. That's not an Easter egg, it's a comic book convention on the big screen. It's Marvel saying, look, we're out of ideas, so let's take our old toys and play with them again. And we, like idiots, applaud. And then Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. They take it a step further. We see Captain Carter, Reed Richards from the Fantastic Four, and even Professor X. The movie is basically a parade of references. They don't care about hiding them anymore. They rub it in your face and we buy it. It's proof that we don't just want the Easter eggs, we need them. The post-credits scenes, the elixir of waiting, and finally the mother of all Easter eggs, the post-credits scenes, that moment when 90% of the audience gets up to leave, but we stay. Like fools. It all started with that one-eyed guy, Nick Fury. He didn't just show up. He said the magic words, Avengers Initiative, and we, like idiots, applauded. After that it became law. We saw Thanos in silhouette, Doctor Strange meeting with Thor. And the best part is that they don't always mean something. Sometimes it's just to give you a scare or a silly joke. But we keep waiting, because each of these scenes is a new promise, a wink that makes you want to go back to the movie theater. The final legacy, what it all really means. So, we've reached the end. After everything from Tesseract to T'Challa, from Stan Lee to Kang, what does it all mean? They could have made separate films without connection, and we would have liked them just the same. But they didn't. They gave us something to hunt for. Something to discuss, to theorize about for years. They gave us the feeling that we're a part of something. And look, I complain about everything, but it was a master stroke. They took a nerdy joke and turned it into a billion-dollar business plan. They promised us a universe, and damn it, they delivered. That's why we watch. That's why we notice the small name in the background on a t-shirt. We're not just watching a movie, we're reading a book that's still being written. And in the end, what can I say? They might have done it for money, for power, but in the process, they gave us something worth more than any box office. We have something in common, something that connects us, and that's not a small thing. See you in the next video. Memento, The Necessary Lie of Leonard First, the film that shaped Christopher Nolan's DNA. Memento. The entire film is a quest for revenge told backward, where the truth is as volatile as Leonard's memory. Leonard has anterograde amnesia, meaning he can't form new memories.